as I said, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. So
Namaskar.
nice that everyone, namaskar. So nice to see everyone after all that, a little bit of that confusion about are we having class today or not? But we are. And we're not going to be having class next week. That we knew a long time ago. That's why we started a week early. So I'll probably say that at least twice today. So we know. All right. I'm going to share. Not at the beginning. So today's class is on contemplative practices and the layers, koshas, of the mind. So we are going to be doing a few different ways of how you might introduce or use contemplative practices. And we're going to go into some depth under the layers or the koshas of the mind. And also introduce the final project and how all these reflective journals feed into that, into this. So let's begin with just a look. We're not going to add today, but we're just going to be reminded of our container. So just take a moment and just have a little peruse and look and reminding about it. So I'm going to start today with something that's I use called a creative brief. And you'll be seeing for the rest of the classes more and more of these. And then also in the second class, I go in social context of learning, I go into this in quite a lot of detail. But I'm just going to introduce it today. So the picture that you see is from something we're going to just experience today. And it's called My Calm and Quiet Place. And this is an example that you're seeing of the art extension, which we're not going to do today, when a teacher did this. I did this with a group of teachers. And this teacher hung this up afterwards on the little bulletin board behind her desk to remind her of her calm and quiet place. So this is something that I learned in systemic education, in my family constellation training had some education training in it, and called systemic education. And they use this format called the creative brief, which is not necessarily step-by-step instructions, but an idea of an exercise or a systemic exercise that you can then use as a springboard to use in many different ways, to make it your own, to take the general idea and be creative and be and use it in a very fluid way, which teachers are actually quite good at doing. So it usually has a purpose. In this case, The purpose is, um, and sometimes the purpose, the next course we'll get into breakthrough questions. I'm not going to do it this time, but the purpose is that it can be insightful for teachers and students what the students perceive as a calm and quiet place. What is their perception of what a calm and quiet place? You can also do this with teachers of what they see as their calm and quiet place. This creative brief was written for children, and I did this in second, third, fourth, fifth grade classrooms. It can be adapted for younger ones or for older ones too. So I'm going to go through this exercise with you, but as adults, but I'm just going to talk about it for a minute of how you might use this with students. Because I worked in a public school in which you really can't talk so much about spirituality, but you can allow students to experience the spirit of spirituality. So I had children all sit in the circle and cross their legs. Then we did a breathing exercise, then a little guided imagery. And then I have some hints about how do you manage kids that have some difficulty with that, with sitting, with crossing their legs, with breathing, and sort of usually the issues come with students that want to take over the situation. They want to have control and what you do with that. And then afterwards, I had students go back to their desks and draw what I call drawing from the inside out, like we did last week. And then they hung them up. And they also always, when they did this exercise, they wanted to draw one for their desks or to put in their backpacks. So they could do that also. And then it was also what I call an anchor, because they then could look up at where their calm and quiet place was if they needed it during the day. So I also have this exercise, and I have this exercise in the resources. So anything that I do that's a creative brief, I also always give it to you, and I have it in English and Portuguese in the resources, so that you have it if you want to really look at it in more detail. So I'm going to stop the share now, and we're going to try this for just a bit so you can have the experience of what this is like. And afterwards, we're just going to have we're not going to do breakout groups, but we're going to have just a little write in the chat or share with each other how we might think about using this with a group of adults or children. Will we do it the same? Is there a different way we could do it? Because that's part of the process of this. So I wanted to just demonstrate. Scott, I don't know if you can do this, but if you can pin me right now so people can see this a little bit more. If not, they'll have to see it this way. Okay. So I like to use visuals when I work with children and with adults. As a matter of fact, after I retired, I went to a lot of Rotary Club meetings. It is a community service adult organization. Using this breathing ball was their favorite thing of my presentation. And these are all very wealthy business people that came together. That this was their thing they remembered and their favorite part. So I'd like to invite everybody to sit with their feet on the ground and in a comfortable position. And we're just going to breathe. So we're going to breathe in and breathe out. Whether it's comfortable with your nose or your mouth, whatever's most comfortable. Breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. And I'd like you could either look ahead or read what I want you to do, or close your eyes. And as you're breathing in and out, I want you to imagine, where is that place where you feel calm and quiet? It might be someplace in nature. It might be a room in your house. Might be in your backyard. Might be on your porch. Where is that? And just imagine yourself there. And imagine where you are, what's around you, and maybe there's someone with you that always helps you feel calm and quiet. And just take a few moments. Just imagine being there. As you're breathing in and you're breathing out. Where is your calm and quiet place? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you sensing? Now we're going to just breathe again, in and out, and in and out. So Scott, you can unpin me now. We'll go with the rest of the group. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes again. And you can do this on your own outside of class and take a round or any color shaped paper and draw what you saw. Draw what words maybe come to you. Draw if there's people that's there or things that are there. I'm inviting you, and you can keep that with you to remind you what it would look like. And we're going to do a similar activity next week, in 2 weeks. And we'll do some breakout groups with that. But I'd like to invite everybody who would like to maybe put something in the chat, or you can actually unmute if you speak in Portuguese. Renata has offered, she hasn't offered, but I've asked her if she could translate for you. So you can speak in Portuguese and she can translate, even though I'm looking for Renata right now.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
She's looking for Renata, not Ronaldo, as he was on the translation.
Okay.
Pela Renata. e não pelo Ronaldo, como estava na tradução.
So anyone have an idea of how they might use this? This particular exercise is for people who have really no experience with meditation or even with mindfulness, just a very simple first kind of step. How might you use this with children? Hmm.
Cannot we use it the same way?
Yes, you can. Yes, yes. Do you think you could use this with little ones?
I think yes, I can imagine. Just it should be maybe not like quiet place, but can you describe love that you feel, or joy that you feel? Maybe something you like the most. Maybe sun that makes feel you um, warm and nice. Something that they bring emotions, good emotions. You might know, for example, I know what my children like. I can just ask them exactly what I think they like. And then, of course, they would like to draw. It's
Right,
certain.
right.
Yeah.
And sometimes when children draw, other things come out in the drawing, right? Because they're drawing from the inside out. Maybe their words don't describe it, or they'll look at the picture and they'll say, "Oh, I drew this," or "I drew that," and they get more insight and you get more insight. I have found, in that itself, the drawing is a contemplative exercise, because they're having, they're not having, but they're encouraged to go from the inside out, to just draw what comes. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So you did adjust it a little bit, and you said the perfect thing, because I know my children. Somebody else.
Alguém que gostaria de compartilhar, gente, como poderia usar essa prática que ela fez agora com crianças ou com algum grupo de adultos que queira fazer em português, precisar de tradução, tá? Estou à disposição.
Você traduz para mim, né?
Tá bom.
Já participei de uma experiência em que as crianças deitavam, colocavam a cabeça sobre a barriga de outras crianças, em dupla, né? E
Ok,
aí respirava. Você já quer ir traduzindo ou é curto? Aí
é
você.
curto, tá bom. Então eu aguardo. Aham.
E aí uma respirava, fazia uma respiração na barriga, né? Tipo de um balão, e imaginava a onda do mar chegando na praia e voltando, e a outra com o olho fechado sentia o movimento da barriga e ia imaginando. Uma experiência interessante que eu tive.
E elas estavam deitadas em duplas, né?
Duplas deitadas. Só que uma
Ok,
apoiando a cabeça na barriga da outra e depois trocavam para ter a mesma experiência.
tá. Fabiola was telling of an experience she had when there were children in doubles and two children together, and one was lying down on the other's belly, and they on the other's belly. And then and this one would take a breath, would breathe deeply, and imagine as there were waves coming down to the beach, and this other one that was lying down on the first one's belly would feel that breath as this part of the stomach, of the belly, would come up and down. And this one would have the eyes closed. They would have the eyes closed, I mean, and they would have this feeling, and then they would switch positions.
Well, that would be great. And that's wonderful. And it would also be great for them to draw afterwards about what they experienced too, to see what that was like for them. That's a great sort of another way to experience it. What I did do today, when I did this with inner city kids, and as soon as they close their eyes or they're quiet, a lot of stuff would come up for them because a lot of them lived in intergenerational trauma situations. Things were pretty chaotic and violent in their neighborhoods. And I would walk them through, but Sid is going to walk you through something later on. But another way that I would do this is walk them through a calm, walking through the forest and sitting down and by a strong tree and then finding their quiet and calm place. And I found with these group of children, I had to really walk them through everything and keep it very positive to anchor them because they had a lot going on. The most surprising answer to this came from a third grader when I did this, where I said, where is your quiet and calm place? And he said he drew himself where there was a pool in the school that we were in. It was in the city. And the kids got to swim in the pool once a week. He said, in the pool, when I go under the water, because that is the only place I'm ever by myself. And, it really touched my heart because he had a very tiny little apartment that he lived in with probably 2 families. But that was his, it was surprising to me, but also helped me understand why sometimes, a place could be something very different and very interesting to you. And for him, that was his quiet and calm place when he put his head under the water in the pool in school. So we don't know what kind of information we're going to find out. And he had a smile on his face when he was saying it. So again, with the breathing, you also that you're talking about, you can also feel it along with seeing it. Or if they have that experience, they can keep it with them. And then that hung up in the classroom so he could remember that when he was feeling dysregulated. Okay. Anything else? We might have time for one more person if they wanted to share something.
Yeah, if no one, maybe I just thought it could be also with a toy. You can put toy in hands or on the laps, and you can say, let's go on a journey with this toy, for example. And imagine like they are going with this friend somewhere. No, as you told about forests, but it can be also toy.
Many different ways you can use this. Many, many different ways. Okay. I'm going to thank you. I'm going to go, let me see if I don't think, is there something? In the school program, you can use this. It's a very nice exercise. It's a visual for the children. It makes it more easy to go inside, for example, during circle time. Yes, and the breathing, the physical, watching something physically breathe helps kids, and then you can help them slow their breathing down and breathe. Thank you for the comment. Okay, we're going to continue now. And go ahead, Sid.
So the class today is going to be about meditation and asanas, which is a science of intuition. There's a quote here from the Grandeur of the Supreme Entity, Subhasita Samgraha, Part 24. When an intuitional aspirant wants to control his or her mind or any of his or her propensities, he or she should control the concerned gland or subgland. And this is what our sadhana, our intuitional practice is. It is a science. So this is taken from Subhasita Samgraha, Part 24. Next slide. Next slide. Did you skip a slide? So thinking is a subjectivization of external objectivity. What this means is that we start with the external object and we internalize it. So it's called methodical thinking, systematically facilitating multisensory imagery for intellectual continuity. So we can imagine this as the five senses, is the images in five senses. Those five senses of hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, and touching. And then we turn it into a somatic experience of bodily sensation connected with our propensities. And then the final subjectivization is turning it into meaning, turning it into words and thoughts and that are associated with these images and sensations. So this is the subjectivization of external objectivity. Next slide. Let's have an example of this. Go ahead and get in a meditative posture and prepare for a visualization. And imagine you're in your favorite place in nature. Just close your eyes and prepare for a visualization. See yourself walking in the woods or in your favorite place in nature, wherever that is. And see yourself experiencing this in the present tense, as though you're in the present. And let yourself be aware of all the familiar sights and sounds and smells and textures of the environment. Closing your eyes and letting yourself be there in the present tense. See all the sights in nature and listen for all the sounds. Let your body experience all these sights and sounds and smells. And pick something up and feel it. Feel the texture of it in the environment. Let yourself be fully absorbed in the environment. Let yourself be there in the present tense, as though you're in this favorite place in nature. Now imagine that you brought a favorite treat along with you. A piece of candy or cake or whatever your favorite treat might be. You brought it along in your pocket and you take it out of your pocket and eat it. Feel it in your hand and taste it. Feel the texture of it and taste it. And now let yourself be aware of the meaning of this experience, of how you've taken the external environment outside and turned it to an inside experience of images and thoughts, and what meaning it has for you to be in nature. What meaning did it have for you to be in this beautiful nature? And finally, after you've arrived at the meaning, you can open your eyes and return to the room. Next slide. So what we've experienced is different levels of the mind. We refer to it as a synthetic phase of creation rather than analytic. It's synthetic. It's a systemic experience of bringing things together rather than taking things apart. And we begin with the crude mind, the chitta. And the ahang is the doer I, the ego. And there's this transition from the crude mind to the doer I, the ego. And then to the mahat, the existential I. And finally, the intuition. So the way these develop is the ahang develops as a result of clash within the chitta, within the crude mind. And systemically, the mahat develops when clash becomes intense. And finally, the intuition, the bodhi, develops when the mahat becomes greater, becomes larger than the ahang, due to extreme clash.
Sid, can you speak a bit slower because we're not having time to read the translation?
Okay. So the experience is the crude mind develops as a result of clash within the crude mind, the chitta, the ahang develops. The mahat develops when clash becomes intense. And the bodhi or intuition develops when the mahat becomes larger than the ahang due to extreme clash. Next slide.
I'm just giving a moment to let people read.
All right, give them time.
Yeah.
So there's this progression from the crude mind to the intuition. So to arouse the kundalini, which is referred to as the serpentine force at the base of the spine, through psychic clash and intuitional practice means to develop intuition. So raising the kundalini develops the intuition. And when the intellect advances with the ideation of the Supreme on supreme consciousness, the sensory and motor organs act as an observant, obedient servant to the mind. So there are 5 sensory organs and 5 motor organs. So we can use the analogy they're like 10 horses that are controlled by the reins of the mind, the reins of the driver of the chariot.
Okay.
So this analogy of the sensory motor organs is like 10 horses. They act as obedient servants to the reins of the mind.
Não é da mina, tá, gente? São os reinos da mente.
So you've clarified it in Portuguese. So what happens is the more the intellect awakens, the greater the number of propensities. So in the intellectual approach to life creates more and more propensities. The gradual unfoldment of intuition leads to corresponding decrease in the number of propensities. So as intuition increases, propensities go down. And finally, after the intuition develops, there remains only one propensity, the propensity of bliss. So intuition reduces the number of propensities. And finally, there's only one propensity, the propensity of bliss. So let's have an experience of developing the intuition and reducing the number of propensities by guided meditation that involves the mindfulness of the breath and concentrated thinking with a mantra. We're going to use Bhavanam Kevalam, which many of you are familiar with, which translates, love is all there is. So now prepare for a guided meditation that involves withdrawal by closing your eyes and letting go of sensations. Focus on the breath, and we'll begin the concentrated thinking on the mantra. Close your eyes, take a few slow, deep breaths. And as you breathe in, recite Baba Nam. As you breathe out, Kevalam. Breathing in with Baba Nam and breathing out with Kevalam. And be reminded of the meaning of this mantra. Love is all there is. So close your eyes, take a few slow, deep breaths, and breathe in with Baba Nam and out with Kevalam. Letting go of all the sensations, letting go of the environment, all the sensations coming from outside, relaxing the body and letting go of sensations from inside the body. And we move from outside in again, focusing on the mantra. Baba Nam breathing in, Kevalam breathing out. Being reminded of the meaning that love is all there is. So let yourself experience this concentrated thinking on the mantra. And as thoughts come up, gently release those thoughts. Don't suppress the thoughts, but gently release the thoughts. Perhaps you can see the thoughts like birds flying through on a windy day, entering one side and exiting the other, or clouds on a windy day. Or see the thoughts like logs on a stream floating in front of you, entering one side and exiting the other as thought releasing mechanisms. But don't suppress the thoughts, just gently release the thoughts and return to the meditation on Bhavanam, breathing in, Kevalam, breathing out. Now I'll let you enjoy a silent meditation for about 5 minutes. Breathing in with Bhavanam and out with Kevalam. Love is all there is. Continue to focus on the mantra, gently releasing the thoughts, not suppressing the thoughts, but gently releasing them. Namaskar. Very slowly. When you're ready, open your eyes and return to the room. So following the meditation, we'll have breakout groups of 4 or 5 people. The Portuguese may have more in one group. The question to answer is, what clash, or physically or mental clash, or obstacles did you have to overcome to accomplish this meditation, which is concentrated thinking on the mantra? So, what clash or obstacles did you have to overcome to accomplish this meditation is the question.
And
So
we're going to have
go
15,
to breakout groups for,
we're going to have 5 people in the breakout groups for 15 minutes so that the breakout groups are kind of even amongst everybody.
and discuss the clash, the physical and mental clash or obstacles that you had to overcome to accomplish this meditation. So a few people can share what their obstacles were in attempting to meditate on Bhavanam Kevalam. What was the experience of people? What obstacles did you encounter? What's the typical experience that people are having when they meditate?
Should we go by group or not?
We could go by group. Go ahead.
So mine was group 2, and people had different experiences. One person that was is not so used to meditate had some problems, and for a while she could feel some calming feelings, but afterwards the mind was restless, and she started to think about the tasks, the work, and 2 of us were quite tired, so we decided to do the meditation. We laid down and decided to do the meditation like that. And for a while, we slept. We felt sleep. And soon we came back, interesting. And the energy was back. We were back to the game. So, and Dada, who is really acquainted about meditative techniques, he didn't have problems, though he said it was a busy day and a lot of problems around, but he concentrating his Ista and didn't find any difficulty to meditate. And another person was feeling a back pain, and she could let it go when she felt the protection that was proposed. And then it was a good learning, a good process that can be used in another time or in other occasions of meditative techniques, no? That was it.
Okay. All right, quite a varied experience and different levels of experience that meditators had. Someone else like to share? What about from our group? Yulia, could you share a little bit about what happened in our group?
Yeah, we had some similar things, like to-do list is coming out when you're starting to concentrate or trying to remember a mantra or Bhavanam Kevalam mantra. Which mantra? Ishta mantra, maybe some have really personal mantra. And then you're trying to remember what you have to do. One dada is in South Africa, and he has a lot of things to what to think about. School is needs to be rejuvenated. And I, as mom, I'm thinking about what to do with my kids and so on. And one person from our group, she had a nice meditation before, so it was easy for her to get in that state. And she had a nice meditation in this 10 minutes also. And we were thinking like those who had some personal mantra, they have this idea what they have problem. They cannot think Bhavanam Kevalam. They started to think their personal mantra. Yeah. And also for those who meditate long time, guided meditation is not so good because they are waiting when a person will stop doing guided part and they can concentrate more.
Was that a similar experience in other groups that you were debating whether to use Bhavanam Kevalam or your personal mantra?
In our group, gente, eu vou falar aqui, vocês vão ver a tradução, se eu falhar alguma coisa, vocês complementam, tá? In our group, people, just Soma mentioned that there was not really a conflict, but she automatically referred to her Insta mantra, but then she tried to concentrate on Bhavanam Kevalam because it was the guidance, and the other people, they didn't have problems going to this meditation. Amaya, Fabiola, and Gustavo, they all mentioned that they would go into meditation and eventually something would come up, like a thought or something that physically happened. Or Gustavo mentioned this also about the time and that it was a guided meditation. So he started questioning himself whether it was already time to open his eyes or not. But everyone described a certain ease to go into meditation, probably because they are already used to doing it. And so the thoughts or the obstacles would eventually arise, but not something that was really hard to get into meditation.
So it's a very common experience to experience these thoughts. That's part of the meditation. I think new people, when they begin meditation, they need to become more comfortable with their thoughts and not try to suppress the thoughts, but gently release them. And to remember the sutra that obstacles are the helping forces in attaining our goal. That's why the thoughts are part of the meditation. So you don't want people trying to suppress their thoughts. When they try to suppress thoughts, it just drives the thoughts even more. So everybody had a very common experience, it seems. And so this is a good example of a subjective approach to an objective adjustment. So the objective adjustment is dealing with all the things that come up and subjectivizing. This is an example of subjectivization. So we'll move on now and to the next slide. We didn't skip anything, did we?
I don't think so. I can try to go back and see. This was the last slide.
Okay, all right. So now we're going to look at the kosher model for personal inside-outside development. Let's go ahead with the slides. This is a view of all the koshas, from the Annamaya kosha dealing with the body to the Kamamaya Kosha, the crude body. Manamaya, Antamanas, Vijnanamaya, Haranamaya. We're going to go into more detail with subsequent slides. Let's go to the next slide.
Sid, let's remember to talk slow enough so that the Portuguese can.
Okay, okay. So looking at the koshas more closely for balancing inside-out expansion, the Annamaya kosha is the physical body, and it experiences physical clash, and it's developed by doing asanas. The Annamaya kosha is developed by doing asanas. The Kamamaya kosha, the conscious mind, is focused on the desires and the senses and instincts. Physical clash is what it experiences. And yama niyama is the practice that helps develop the Kamamaya kosha, the ethical principles. The Manomaya kosha is the subconscious mind, which deals with thinking, dreaming, and remembering, and it experiences physical clash. And the practices that help develop the Manomaya kosha are pranayama, the breath control.
I'm just giving a second so people can read.
Continuing the Antamanas. Did you admit? Yeah. Continuing the Antamanas is the first layer of the causal or unconscious mind. It deals with aesthetics, imagination, and creativity. It experiences psychic clash. And the practices that are helpful in developing the Antamanas kosha are pratyahara, which is the withdrawal from the world, withdrawal from the body, withdrawal from the mind. The Vijnanamaya kosha is the second layer of the causal mind or unconscious mind, which focuses on intuition and discrimination. It experiences psychic clash, and the practice that helps develop the Vijnanamaya kosha is the dharana, concentration. The Hiranamaya kosha, the third layer of the causal mind or unconscious mind, expresses universal love, a longing for the great. The practice for developing the Hiranamaya kosha is dhyan, or ideation on supreme consciousness. So what we're trying to develop is prama, or balance, in all these fields of the physical, mental, and spiritual levels. And so this is a quote that this, just as prama is indispensable in individual life, it is indispensable in collective life. Sri Sri Anandamurti, from his discourse on prama. So one must not forget that the collective welfare lies in individuals, and individual welfare lies in collectivity. Sri Sri Anandamurti, the third principle of Proud. One must not forget that the collective welfare lies in the individuals, and the individual welfare lies in collectivity. Sri Sri Anandamurti, third principle of Proud. All right, go to the next slide. This is taken from the call of the Supreme. So long as the soul is not attained, every kosha has to be perfected. Each kosher has to be taken care of. One kosher cannot be perfected to the exclusion of the rest. So long as the soul is not attained, every kosher has to be perfected. Each kosher has to be taken care of. One kosher cannot be perfected to the exclusion of the rest. Next slide. Now we're going to take a look at the self-development plan, and Linda will help us go through this. And then we're going to look at the koshers in more detail and you'll take notes.
Can take notes if you want, yes. Or you can look at this. This Google slide is in the Google Classroom, so you can always refer to it. But we're taking a break to explain this now, because as we're going through the koshers, a lot of your journal responses were about, because last week we talked about propensities and asanas that was due last week. And that's a piece of it. And then there's other pieces that help support and take care of the other koshas and our overall development also. So the purpose of this one of the purposes of this Inside Out class is for us to develop ourselves and support ourselves and resource ourselves. And we'd like everyone, as the one project for this class, other than the 4 journal entries, which all feed into this, is to come up with a plan that you can carry kind of with you through the 2-year course and refer to it and add and subtract to it. It's a living document. It's not you decided to do something now and now that's it. It's just sort of a beginning idea. So it says you can refer to the week 3 slideshow on contemplative practices in layers of the mind and helping you to develop your plan, which is what we're doing now. We also have it in Google Classroom to refer to. We're asking you to reflect on what aspects of the layers of the mind in which you find important priorities to start working on for your own self-development. And this may change. I think our program is unique. We've talked about this a lot, in that we are encouraging and giving space and time to our own personal development. Because we believe that in Neohumanism, our own development and expansion is going to help us be better teachers and also help us to help children to develop in that way also, and families and communities. So there should be a short reflective writing in the beginning of the plan. And you can add specifics according to the following guidelines. And you will get a template in Google Classroom where you can use this. You can just write it all, or you can actually write in the template, however you want to do it. What contemplative and yoga practices will support your development? So I'm noticing now in the reflective writing can be a statement about some things that you feel like you want to develop and work on. That's the reflective writing. And then what contemplative and yoga practice will support your development? What people are resources and support for you, and how will you access them, and how often will you check in with them? It might be one of us that you would like to check in about it. It might be a resource you have in the community, or a family member, or a friend, someone that supports you. When I did all my systemic education training, there was a principal of a school that was part of the development and training program. And she said in her school, and this was not in this country, it was in another country, she required each teacher in the school, and she did it too, to have someone outside of school that they identified as a support person for them that they could go to. And this school worked with very difficult students that had very difficult environments, and the school was highly successful. And this is one of the things she said that she felt was very important. And she did it herself first. You know, when she talked to her teachers about, I have a support person outside of here that I can go to and talk about when I'm having problems, you know, when I'm having not only personal problems, but I have problems in figuring out how to help support the teachers in the school. So who are your people? What are other supports and resources you can access? They might include exercise, the arts, natural resources. How will you access them and how often? So part of your plan might be, I'd like to meditate once a day and do yoga 3 times a week or twice a day and every day. I would like to connect once a month or once every 2 weeks with this support person. I would like to make a plan to walk twice a week out in nature or do my art once a week. Oh. Oops. How will you keep track of your reflections on your own development? Will you keep a journal or record in some other way like art, poetry, or recorded conversations? If I was doing that, I'd probably say I'd write on my note app on my phone. Someone else last time did and I would write poetry. Someone else liked to do art to reflect it, you know, and they would kind of draw it out and then write about it or talk about it. And what are the other things? I'm sorry, this is having problems. What are other things that can support your own self-development? What are we missing? What are we not thinking of? So when we're going through this talk about koshas and some of the things that and ideas, see what you're drawn to, what you might want to as you think about this. What might be part of your development and your In the following slides, begin to expand on the reflective journal assignment given to you week 2 about propensities and koshas you're attracted to work on. You can make written or mental notes as we address the issues for each level of the mind. And now I'm going to move it back over to Sid. Sid, I think you're muted.
You can now begin to think about whether to take notes, mental notes or written notes, as we go through the different koshas. The first one is the Annamaya kosha. Consider whether you have a predominantly plant-based diet, or whether you have problems with your posture, whether you've had some injuries and there's certain anatomical imbalances that you have due to an injury, or physiological imbalances that have to do with digestion, an irritable bowel syndrome perhaps, or any physical imbalances or illnesses that need care, that you need to take care of. And think about what asanas will correct these imbalances. Consult with a an acharya, consult with an acharya about the asanas that would be most helpful. It needs to be highly personalized. All asanas are not good for everybody. You need to be very personalized in your approach, and an acharya can help you select the asanas that are going to benefit you the most. Next slide.
Can I add something here, Sid?
Yeah.
This can also be other things besides asanas. For example, right now I can give a personal example. I'm doing some physical therapy due to an injury that I had on my legs and my hips. And I also do body work. I do shiatsu massage occasionally to help with this. So it is something you're doing daily, but it's also other things that you can bring in.
Okay. For the Kamamaya kosha, the crude mind, you want to reflect on the following. What attractions and aversions do you deal with? What are you most attracted to? And what do you try to avoid personally? Everyone knows what their own attractions are. It's like there's certain foods that we're attracted to that we eat too much of. Mine is chocolate. So I have to limit the amount of chocolate I eat. And eating habits are a big issue for all of us. So even though we might have a sentient diet, we might eat too many carbs. And carbs turn into sugar, and sugar is an enemy of most people. So balancing care of self and others is very important. What percentage of your time is you use taking care of others versus the percentage of your time taking care of yourself? There was an author here in Asheville that wrote a book called Sacred Selfishness. Sacred Selfishness had the thesis that if you take better care of yourself, you have more to offer others. If you take better care of yourself, you have more to offer others. And then social support. We as human beings, growing alone is very difficult. So when we have a goal that we set for ourselves in our physical development, we need to turn to social support. We need to have a friend that we share what our goals are, so that we have someone to check on us. And so growing with other people is much more supportive than trying to grow alone. So the universal ethics of yama and niyama is good for this balance of self-care and care of others. It's based on time, place, and person rather than dogma. And it helps make benevolent choices to what to think, say, and do. Manomaya kosha, or the subconscious mind. So we work on methodical, rational thinking and problem solving. So we want to balance rational thinking with intuitional thinking, which we will deal with when we progress with these slides. But many people develop mnemonic devices to improve our memory, or develop a constant memory of the divine. The more we think of the divine, the more our memory works for us. And another thing is to be aware of true dreams which occur just before waking. These true dreams reveal deep intuitive secrets that we've kept from ourselves. slow down, take a deep breath, one step at a time, and keep at it. So we can use this slowing down throughout the day. If we just stop 12 times a day and took slow, deep breaths, we could preserve a lot of energy. Antimanas kosha is the nature of relationships to self, other, and nature, the supramental mind. So rasa is the rhythm and flow of the mind. We want to try to attain this flow state of the mind, an incantative rhythm that brings the mind closer to the cosmic rhythm. And service to others is a positive practice that is half of our practice. Self-realization and service to others are critical, important things, but need to balance the amount of service to others with service to yourself as well. Remember that service to yourself allows you to better serve others. Creativity, imagination, and expansiveness. These are natural qualities of a human being to expand, vistara. And finally, withdrawal, pratyahara. The Vijnanamaya kosha, the subliminal mind, is the ability to make wise, intuitive choices that serve the welfare of self and others. Vivek. Psycho-spiritual engagement is a subjective approach to the objective adjustment, seeing pure consciousness in everything. And then we invoke this neo-humanist love of all of creation, animate and inanimate, all plants, animals, and the inanimate environment. We expand our love of people to a love of all things, animate and inanimate. And finally, concentration, dharana, is a focal point of the subliminal mind of Vijnanamaya kosha. Next slide.
So I want to give a quick example here, for example, that came to my mind if I was doing a self-development plan, and maybe I should, is to maybe increase service to animals for me. I'm not normally engaged with them, that would create and help expand my mind and my newest love for all creation. So play with a dog once a week might be in my self-development plan, or play with an animal that is going to increase that. This is a simple, concrete example.
And finally, the fifth layer, the Haranamaya kosha, is a subtle causal mind. So cosmic consciousness as a subject is meditating on you as the object. In other words, we think we're meditating on cosmic consciousness, but cosmic consciousness is meditating on us as the object. Cosmic consciousness is the supreme subjectivity. So the goal is to become one with cosmic consciousness. That's through the practice of dhyan. We are a drop in an ocean of cosmic consciousness. Next slide. So there are multiple strategies for individual and collective progress. So all of these practices are important. And the individual practices are eat sentient food, which is a plant-based diet, predominantly a plant-based diet, to get enough sleep. And I asked an acharya once, how do you tell whether you get enough sleep? He said, if after lunch you're dozing, you haven't had enough sleep. So you need to listen to your body. It's telling you, it's keeping the score and telling you how much sleep you need. And what is proper exercise? Proper exercise involves asanas and a cardiovascular running or walking fast, and asanas to balance the hormones, meditation, niyama, breath control, the ways of knowing that we've explored, devotion and expressing joy, which is a very essential ingredient for a neo-humanist teacher, to express joy. So at a collective level, those are the individual levels of strategies for developing progress. The collective ones are satsang, which is being with a good group of people, good company. And group support, everybody needs to have a support group. You'd be guaranteed an hour and a half of unconditional love a week if you belong to a support group of any kind, whether it's a grief group or a group about losing weight. You would get an hour and a half of unconditional love. Yama, which is individual care. It's care for others. Coordinated cooperation, empathy, leadership, and communication skills, and service, activism. Activism has that spiritual activism and the courage to act to support equality for all beings. So social equality, supporting social equality in today's world is very much needed. So now we're going to take a look at some quotes from several people from several different fields. The first quote is from Jack Kornfield. He said, "It is possible to speak with our heart directly. Most ancient cultures know this. We can actually converse with our hearts as if we were a good friend. In modern life, we have become so busy with our daily affairs and thoughts that we have lost this essential art of taking time to converse with our heart." This is a quote from Jack Kornfield, a Buddhist teacher. So this is another quote from Rumi. "Follow your heart. Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you truly love. It will not lead you astray." Another heart-centered dialogue of the Vijnanamaya Kosha is what we're going to practice. But there's another quote. Go to the next slide. This is from Sri Sri Anandamurti in the Supreme Abode of Satya, Ananda Vachanamritam, Part 2. "Seek the divine within with earnest zeal, with sincerity and love. Then that glittering entity will emerge within your heart with its supreme effulgence." Sri Sri Anandamurti, the Supreme Abode of Satya. Now we're going to have a breakout group. So prepare for meditation and sit comfortably with a straight back and close your eyes and take a few slow, deep breaths.
So first we're going to have the visualization and then we're breakout group.
Focus on your heart. Close your eyes and meditate on your heart. Focus on your heart, breathing in and out from your heart. And visualize that you're in a monastery or a nunnery, depending on your gender. Visualize that you're in a monastery or a nunnery, and you're in a dark room before dawn. Visualize that you're in a dark room before the sun comes up. Focus on your heart. And if it helps, place one hand or both hands on your heart. And meditate on your heart. And as you meditate on your heart, meditate on what you truly love. And experience a warming sensation developing in your heart. As you focus on what you truly love, a warming sensation grows in your heart. Continue to meditate on what you truly love. And finally, this warming sensation lights a flame in your heart. Keep focusing on what you truly love. And it lights a flame in your heart that lights up the room that you're in. As you keep meditating on what you truly love, the room grows brighter and brighter, and the flame in your heart grows brighter and brighter. And finally, you feel like you can no longer sit, and you stand up and you walk towards the door to the room, and you open that door into a long, dark hall that's now lit by the flame in your heart. Step into that long, dark hall and start walking down that long, dark hall, lit by the flame in your heart. And as you walk down this long, dark hall, you see a door at the end of the hall, lit by the flame in your heart. Walk towards that door. And once you reach that door, open that door. And you see that that door opens to a long descending stairwell. When you open the door, you see a long descending stairwell. Begin walking down that descending stairwell lit by the flame in your heart, taking each step at a time and continuing to meditate on what you truly love in your heart as you're walking down those stairs. And finally, you come to the end of the stairs, and the stairs end. The stairs end at the floor of a cave. There's a floor of a cave at the end of the stairs. On the floor of the opening of the cave, there's a letter addressed to you in your own handwriting. After you take the last steps, there's a floor of a cave, the mouth of a cave. And on the floor of the mouth of the cave is a letter addressed to you in your own handwriting. Pick up that letter and open it. It's a letter from your heart. So open that letter and read this letter from your heart. Read this letter from your heart in your own handwriting. Next slide. Now we're going to open your eyes when you're ready. Once you absorb the meaning of the letter from your heart, we're going to share in breakout groups of 4 or 5 the results of the visualization. Share what you're comfortable sharing with your group members. And reflect on how the heart-centered meditation supports your capacity to focus on what you truly love. Reflect on how the heart-centered meditation supports your capacity to focus on what you truly love. We'll go into breakout groups now to discuss the results of your meditation on your heart.
Scott, we need to end them a little earlier, but we'll try. You need to unmute, and you're right, because I can hear Sid when he's talking upstairs.
So we don't have time for popcorn sharing, but there was some interesting sharing. And a lot of people couldn't decide between all the things that they love. Some people living in the present, and some people the ideology. But we need to move on. So let's go back to the slides.
Okay. I think the only thing that's left is what's next, and we have 1 minute.
Yeah.
So I want to say again to everybody that we are not having class next week. Our next class will be in 2 weeks. And then the last 3, we're halfway through the course, believe it or not. And next week is no class. And then we have 3 weeks in a row, and that will be the end. December 17th will be the last. So no class next week, but yes, the week after that. We have some more reading. We have a little bit more readings this time than we did before, because we usually have, the last 2 times we've had people read Kathleen Kelson's, some of her chapter on becoming one with the world. But the infights, there was a problem with it, so we weren't able to assign that before. So we added a few pages in this one. And you'll have your last reflective journal assignment for the course. So chapter 3 in a book called Courageous Journeys in Education, which is the next 2 weeks will be about systemic education and how we create a classroom community and belonging. We're sort of going out a little bit, and a few pages in Becoming One with the World and our reflective journal. And you can start thinking about the final project, but that's not due to the very end of the class. Are there any questions?
Can I say something,
Yeah.
Vishala? That people, because I have on my readers list, there are some people who have returned their work, really nice work, and then there's some that they haven't. So I encourage you, please, please do and send your homework. It's I'm sure it's beautiful always to read your work, and please do your homework.
Thanks for the advertisement. I appreciate it. Perfect. Because you're right. The things that I've read are quite wonderful, and we can take some time and answer them. Take thoughtful time. But if it's all coming in at the end or after, it's more difficult. So, and you have 2 weeks now. You can catch up. So, yeah. Thank you for that reminder. Okay, I'd like to end on time, and we're 1 minute late. So look forward to seeing everyone in 2 weeks.
Namaskar.
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 And if anyone has questions, we'll stay after for a couple of minutes. So.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
I have just one question.
Yes.
I would like to know more about Pratyahara.
Pratyahara is breath control. Pratyahara is, I'm sorry, not breath control, but withdrawal. Pratyahara is the withdrawal. And you withdraw from, in meditation, you withdraw from the world, and then you withdraw from your body, all the sensations in your body. Relax. The idea is to relax the body so that you can meditate. And then the final withdrawal is from the mind, letting go of the thoughts and focusing on the mantra, which is concentrated thinking. So that's the three-step process of withdrawal, of pratyahara.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I think we had some real internet problems with the classmates from Nigeria this week. I saw them going in and out and in and out. So if you had that problem or people had that problem, they can also listen to the recording once it comes up. But I appreciate the effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the internet is not so stable. Is that correct, Ira?
It's okay. All right.
All right. Namaskar.
Goodbye, everyone.